couple grand, and I walk in the couple grand, give me couple grand, and I walk in the couple grand.
Hey everyone, Julian here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make music like Mr. Carmack. Before the video starts, I just want to let everyone know you can get the project file and samples and presets and MIDI for this video in the description for just $5 on my Bandcamp. If you want to support me, this is a great way to do it, and I really appreciate it. Anyway, here's the video. So, I have this in front of me, it's what you heard in the intro, and it's pretty straightforward. This style isn't terribly hard to recreate. It's kind of more about ideas than execution necessarily, or like it's more about ideas than like having some kind of crazy production skills. So anyway, I'm just gonna go through and show you everything. The first thing I'll show you are the drums. So the drums sound like this on their own. And they're pretty simple. It's just a matter of kind of like the type of samples you want to use. So I guess I'll show you the kick and the snare really quick. Here's the kick. And then the snare. Pretty simple. I don't have any processing on either of them because you really don't need it if you choose the right sounds. And what I would say is like for these kind of sounds, you generally want like trap drums, but not just like simple like like a rack kick and the like Lex Luger snare, like those kind of simple sounds. You want like the bigger kind of more EDM trap style sounds. So that's where I got this snare and then this kick. As far as the percussion goes, I have a few layers. I got this shaker, this hi-hat, and then this percussion loop. So the shaker and the hi-hat are pretty simple. They're both just doing eighth notes. And then I have a little bit of track delay on both of them. So they're both being track delayed 30 milliseconds forward. If you don't know what track delay is, it's this thing over here. You get it by clicking this little D icon in the bottom right corner. And what it does is it basically moves your sound forward, just the same as if you went like this and just moved it in the arrangement. But by having it on like a little knob you can turn, so to speak, it's a little bit easier to work with. So that's why I did that. And the purpose of doing that is just because it gives these things a lot more groove over like the kick and the snare. Like I'll show you without it real quick. It's not quite the same. I mean that works, but it doesn't have like that kind of groove that this has. Pushing those forward really helps to do that. And then I'll show you the percussion loop real quick. It's pretty simple. I did the same thing on that though. I track delayed it forward. And what I did was I started with this. Let me see if I can play. Okay. So like these kind of like raw, more like organic percussion sounds I really like for this style. And what I did was I basically went in and chopped it up a little bit to get rid of the snares because I put track delay on this. I put it forward 30 milliseconds. And what was happening, I'll show you a little bit. When I had the snares in there, you can hear it's like sort of not lining up perfectly with the snare that I already have. And so it's sort of like doing like a kind of effect, and I didn't want that, so I just replaced that with one of the shakers there on all the snare hits. And it's fine here because I really wanted this main snare to shine anyway, and I didn't want anything to really be getting in the way of it. The only other thing I did on the percussion loop was I just added this EQ8 with like this really sharp Q as like a low pass filter. And I did the high resonance / Q for a reason, because I wanted that like kind of juicy like high resonance filter sound. And yeah, that's it for the drums. The next thing I'll show you is the 808. So the 808 is pretty simple. It's just this simple MIDI that's just following this chord progression of F and then C sharp. And then at the end there's these little slides. And the way that I made those was I did the MIDI like this, so they're like quickly sliding into each other there. And then what I did was I went into the controls here in Simpler, and I messed with the glide. I turned on the glide and then put the time up to 111 milliseconds. So it's like a quick glide, and they can quickly slide up to those notes without any problems. I also did a little bit more work on this, as you can see. I'll show you the original sample. So just like one of those kind of 808s, the big, like, sort of boomy, resonant ones. I hear Mr. Carmack using those a lot. And what I did to this actually is pretty simple, but it's important to note. So if I turn off this transpose and turn off the detune, you'll see on this tuner, I'm playing a C right now on my keyboard, and this isn't lining up. It says it's playing A flat or G sharp. And it also says, if you notice, that it's 14 cents out of tune. I mean, it's wavering over there, but about 14 cents out of tune. So what you have to do to fix this is you have to use this detune and the transpose and get it up to C. So in this case, it's plus 14 cents too high. So I'm going to put the detune down minus 14 cents. And there we go. It's lining up on the on that little circle there, meaning it's in tune. Now we just have to get it to play C when I'm playing C on the keyboard. So I'm going to keep hitting the note. And there we go. It's in tune. And it's playing the right notes. This is an F, and you can see it's playing F. So pretty simple there, but it's an important thing to do. The last thing that I did was I actually sidechained this to the kick, which is strange for me because I never sidechained my 808s, but I'll show you without the sidechaining. You could have honestly probably gotten away with doing that without the sidechain, but I heard a lot in Mr. Carmack's music that he'll sidechain his 808s to his kick, and it is a good thing because what it does is it sort of like knocks the 808 out of the way when the kick is playing, so you can get the full sort of bass and just general like stuff going on in the low end of the kick without it interfering with the 808 too much. And then when the kick is done playing, the 808 comes in and you still get that bass. Next layer I'll show you is the lead, which is pretty simple. It's just playing the simple thing in F minor. Really not too much to say there. Just F, G, G sharp, C, F, G, G sharp, C sharp. But the way I made the synth is a little bit interesting. So what I did was I took a noise oscillator. I'll show you. So I have this oscillator A playing just some noise. And I set the envelope like this and all of that. So it's just like a little pluck. And then what I did was I went on the filter. And I chose a bandpass filter, turned the resonance all the way up, and if you do this, right-click on frequency, and then hit play by key, what it'll do is it will... Hey, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. OBS randomly cut off, but I'm just going to start from where it was. So like I was saying, if you right-click on that filter frequency and hit play by key, it will key track it, meaning what it'll do is basically when you play a note, the filter frequency will move based on what note you're playing, and if it's properly in tune, then it will play the same note that you're playing on the keyboard, and thus you can play the filter as an oscillator almost. And this is a good way to make little synths like this where you just want it to be like a little small sound. It doesn't really take up too much of the frequency range, but still adds a little bit of flavor in the background. That was really the goal of this layer, and I think I accomplished that pretty nicely using this kind of synth. After that, I just added a little reverb. I think I just messed with the dry, wet, and the decay time. And then I sidechained it to the kick, just to keep it all under control. And really, with this kind of music, I find like the kick and snare need to be the two loudest things in your mix. So sidechaining everything to the kick can really help with that. And then all I did after that was I just put this 30 millisecond track delay on here, just like with the hi-hats, just to give it a little bit more of that sort of like groove where it's like a little bit off from the kick. And yeah, last thing I want to show you is this little vocal chop loop. So it's pretty simple. I made it in kind of an interesting way though that I want to show you guys. So basically what I did was I took this vocal loop, which I'll unwarp.
Ballers can't compare with this Gucci wristband. I walk in the club with a couple grand. You give me bad looks.
So kind of cringy, not exactly the best one, but it had some cool stuff in there. So I took the I warped it, and then what I did was I pitched it down -8, and I took I literally just went through and grabbed a few different pieces. Like when he says "gimme," I took that. I'll just Control X, and then let's make a new track. So yeah, I just took these pieces and just kind of started chopping it around. I mean, you can see on this file here or on this track, like all the little chops, because you can see where these are being cut. And I was just playing around with that thing where he's saying like couple, because it sounded cool like rhythmically with this. And also like something I want to talk about is like repetition. So when you're doing this, I think what makes this vocal chop most effective is the fact that it does different things, but it keeps coming back to that same line. And that's what's giving it sort of like it's like grounding it and anchoring it so that you can go and mess around with all these other little parts, but it still comes back to like one thing that you could pick up on, like, and I guess sort of like sing along to or say along to in the case of this song. But yeah, that's really it with the vocal chops. I mean, like I said, it's just a matter of finding like a cool little like sample or rap acapella or something like that, and just finding like a cool part, and then again, just going at it with the repetition and repeating parts, but adding new parts in there to keep it interesting and to keep it sort of flowing along. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I mean, like I said, it's just a matter of making sure your kick and snare are pretty loud and the 808 is pretty booming, so to speak, and you should be good. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today, guys. Make sure to let me know what you think of this video in the comments. And also make sure to like this video and subscribe. Maybe even share the video if it really helped you. Go get the samples and project and MIDI from this video in the description at my Bandcamp, and I will see you guys again tomorrow for another video.